What's going on, everyone? Dare here, and welcome back to another day of Marvel Snap. We are nearing the end of the month, which means we have a new season to look forward to, and also a new list of weekly Spotlight caches to start saving our resources for. So let's dive in there. We're gonna start this episode off like we normally do and go through what is the current state of my collection, how many keys do I have, how many tokens do I have, and what's my plan for the month of September. I do want to reiterate, like I did at the beginning of last episode, I would not take me as an analytical expert. This is completely my opinion, what I'm using keys on. What I pick may not be the best cards from a competitive standpoint, but they're going to be the best cards for what I think are going to be fun and what decks I personally want to play. So let's dive in there and let's take a look at the current state of my collection. So before we get too deep into my collection, I did want to say thank you to everyone for watching. If you do enjoy the video, please hit that like button and also hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of my content. It truly does help out with the algorithm and I really do appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Going into the month of September, I'm currently sitting on 8 Spotlight keys. And I'm not gonna lie, that feels kind of good. Just because in my mind, I have 2 weeks that I can actually get all the cards on, and that actually, you know, gives me warm and fuzzies inside. Outside of the Spotlight keys, I recently hit the threshold of 3,000 collection level that pushed me into the general pool. So that has been a very interesting experience over the past week or so since I hit that threshold. And then on top of it, I'm sitting on about 4,000 tokens currently. My previous strategy was I was going to plan on and picking certain Series 4 cards that I kind of needed for the decks that I was playing, and I was going to spend 3,000 tokens until I got all those. I've kind of changed my opinion on that. I think moving forward, I'm going to start targeting Series 5 cards, and that is primarily because of that random card on the Spotlight cache. So there's a 66% chance that is going to be a Series 4 card. And with my luck, I know that that is more than likely going to be a Series 4 card that I already have or I would buy with tokens. So moving forward, I think I'm going to be saving my tokens, picking up Series 5 cards, and then the rest of the Series 4 cards that I need will more than likely come from that little random spot, unless there's someone that I just really need for a certain deck to work, in which case I will call an audible on the spot and pick them up instead. What's going on, guys? Future Dare here, and unfortunately I'm kicking myself in the butt because I tried to get ahead on making this video, putting it together, because I have a very busy weekend and I want to make sure that it got out on time. So unfortunately, I recorded this whole thing prior to the OTA coming out. I don't think there are that many drastic changes that will impact my opinion in this video outside of a couple of them. One of them, I am kind of chuckling because I did state that I thought Cannonball would be getting a change soon, and well, that did happen. Is he the newest, greatest, and best card in the world? I don't think so, but so I don't think my opinion really changes a whole lot on Cannonball. The other two, one of them is Nimrod. I think with the changes to Attuma, it makes Nimrod a much more attractive offer. Is it enough to push you in the direction of pulling on Hulkling? I don't think so. I think if anything, unfortunately, I'm going to be using my tokens to pick up Nimrod because I still don't feel like that I want to go all in on Hulkling. So that is unfortunate. I'll be talking about them next. So it doesn't really change it. I just wanted to point out that I do think Nimrod is a lot more attractive now with the changes to Attuma. And then the other one is Scar, but I'm actually going to end myself here, and I will catch up when we're talking about Scar later in the video. So like last month, we're going to start it off by looking at the current Spotlight cache because it is going to roll into September. So technically kind of is a September Spotlight cache. We're looking at the big man himself, Emperor Hulkling, Nimrod, and Cannonball. What do I have to say about this week? I don't know how I feel about Hulkling. I have watched a few people play him. Some people have said that he's dog water. A few others have said he's not that bad. And personally, I don't really feel like chasing after someone whose highest review has been he's not that bad. I do know that he does have some high rolls. I also know that he has a lot of low rolls. I don't see him being a good card in his current state. And so let's address that. My big worry with Hulkling is that on Monday at 1 o'clock, not even 1 o'clock, let's say 11 o'clock, they're going to make an announcement that they're buffing Hulkling just before he leaves. That is a concern. I think he's not going to stay in his current state. They're going to do something with him. I don't know what, but it's going to be a bummer and everyone's going to be annoyed by it. So either way, I'm not rolling on this week. Nimrod, I feel like, is kind of a niche play right now. He's got 1 or 2 decks that, I mean, honestly do kind of pique my interest, but not enough to chase him with keys. And then Cannonball on the other side of it, I don't even know if he sees play outside of since Professor X got nerfed. I have seen him in matches. People have thrown him at me in Junk Clog decks, and I think I've seen him in possibly a Loki deck, if anything. But other than that, I mean, he's just not that relevant right now. And now that I say that, they're probably going to buff him next OTA, and he's going to be the card to have, knowing my luck. So either way, this week is a pass. I know I'm going to regret it because they're going to be changing Emperor Hulkling in some way, shape, or form, and then we're not going to be able to get him for like 6 months. But this week is, for me, without a doubt, it's a pass. Moving on to week 2, we're talking about the week of September 3rd through September 10th. This is probably my most hyped week of the month, and you guys can probably guess why. Mockingbird is the card that I have probably lost to more than any other card in this game. She fits into so many decks that I play that is an absolute travesty that I have not gotten her yet. She's immediately going into my Marvel Boy Zoo deck. She's immediately going into my Thanos deck. She is going into my Patriot Ultron deck. Like, there is so many decks that I have that she's just getting slapped into. I cannot wait to get Mockingbird. Silver Sable, the new card of the month, I really have mixed feelings about. I think she's gonna be fantastic in bounce. She is. She's gonna be really good in bounce. But outside of that, I don't know if she outshines any of the other 1-cost cards that you would kind of just put in there. Like, okay, so she is gonna be essentially a 1/5. She's gonna come out, she's a 1/1. She's gonna steal 2 power from a card that your opponent is about to play. So that takes 2 from them, so she's gonna be a 1/5. That's not better than Nebula. It's just not. I know it's nice that it steals 2 power from your opponent. I guess on certain cards that could be really funny. You take 2 power from a Deadpool. He's a dead card at that point. There's a lot of, I guess, interesting interactions, but I think in just general play, I'm not sure she's gonna replace Nebula. I do still really like her. I mean, I think that she probably is a better late game play than Nebula is, mainly, especially if you're playing like a Wong deck. Can you imagine if you got Wong Mystique out there, you don't have anything else to play on turn 5, you slap her down there. Or on top of it, turn 6 play, you can throw her on Wong Mystique and Gilgamesh. That's not a bad, I guess, turn, but for the most part, I don't know. I'm gonna get her. Like I said, I'm going hot in on this week, so I can't wait to experiment with her. I just feel like that. At first, I thought she was going to be amazing just because of Cassandra Nova made such an impact, but for the most part, I'm really interested to see how she plays out. Moving on to US Agent, I actually don't know a whole lot about him. I think that he will probably do really well in a Zoo deck for the most part. I don't really ever come across him. I am kind of interested to see, because I do feel like if I slotted him into a Marvel Boy Zoo deck that does not have a lot of expensive cards, outside of Blue Marvel and Gilgamesh that you can play around him, he could be a pretty strong card. But I just don't know a whole lot about him, but I'm probably going to end up with him because I'm going hard in on this week. Let's move on to week 3. We are looking at September 10th through September 17th. We're finally kind of getting into those move cards that are going to start popping up in the Spotlight Cache. I feel like September is the month of move because it feels like it's finally getting some attention that it really needed. So we're looking at Madam Web, Silk, and Alioth. Let's talk about Silk first. Silk is just kind of a mainstay. I know that she's had a lot of decks throughout the years. I think Silky Smooth was the name of one of the big ones there for a while. I think that she's just a really good Series 4 card in a bunch of move decks, especially if you're playing Kraven. As cards getting played, she's bouncing around, she's buffing up other cards as she's doing it. I think that she is a pretty decent card if that's the type of style that you play. Alioth, I have a love-hate relationship with this card. And by that, I mean, I love to hate this card. Like I mentioned last week, I've probably lost more to Mockingbird, but I would bet that Alioth has taken more cubes from me than any other freaking card in this godforsaken game. He's just never expected. You just don't ever expect him. When I played the Living Tribunal, when I was playing some Wong decks, like anything in my Mr. Negative decks, when I'm setting a bunch of stuff up, you never expect Alioth in the hand of your opponent. So, I mean, I kind of hate to see him go this week. I'm not going to pull on him, but he's such an interesting card in my opinion, and he can absolutely surprise your opponent because I don't feel like anyone ever sees him coming. I think he's a great card. I truly do. I think he's kind of a niche card, but I do feel like he is a very, very good card to play. He may not be top tier, but he definitely is a cube stealer without a doubt. Now let's take a look at the main card of the Spotlight Cache in Madame Web. I think Madame Web is absolutely going to be a really strong card in move decks. Mainly because when I first saw her, I assumed she was going to be picking a random card and moving away from her. That's not what it sounds like. What it actually sounds like is that every turn you can take a card and pick where you move it to, which to me just sounds so strong. Especially if you throw down, let's say you throw her down, you throw a Human Torch on top of her, you throw a Vulture down. Over the course of 2 turns, you move the Vulture and the Human Torch away, you throw a Cloak down, you then move both of them back. And then you can use, you know, a Doctor Strange, move them away, and then Heimdall next turn, and move them all again. Like, I think that Matt, she's gonna be really strong. Or, you know, you can move someone away and then, you know, Doctor Strange them and then move them to another lane all in the same, you know, in the same turn. I think she's gonna be really good. If anything, it just kind of makes me wish I played more move. I don't have the keys to kind of make a dive into move. Also, if you watched my video at the end of last week, I'm not very good at move. So it kind of hurts me because I think she's going to have a lot of interesting play style around her. But I am going to be passing on it just because move's not really my archetype. But if you do enjoy move, I do think this is a week worth saving your keys for because I think she's really strong. And I think Silk can fit into a lot of different decks, especially if you enjoy move. And then on top of it, I think having Alioth in pocket is never a bad thing. Let's move on. Moving on to week 4, we have Orana. I know I'm mispronouncing that. I can't quite get the N right, but I do apologize to the entire Spanish-speaking community for my inability to pronounce that name. Miss Marvel and Sage. Let's start with Sage. I feel like this Sage is an absolute sleeper card that a lot of people need. Interesting fact, the week of Sage was either my first or second week playing Marvel Snap altogether, so this is the first time I'm seeing her back. The first time she was here, I didn't even have access to Spotlight keys. So it's kind of unfortunate that I'm not going to be chasing after her on this week either, because I really do want Sage, especially with how much I've been dabbling around with Mr. Negative lately. It is really unfortunate that I'm not going to go after Sage here. Because she is a really, really strong card. I feel like she's slept on sometimes, and I kind of, honestly, I'm going to regret not picking her up this week. Next card is Miss Marvel. I hear really, really good things about Miss Marvel, but honestly, I don't know if I've ever actually seen her in game. I hear from a lot of the other content creators that I watch that she's a really, really strong card, but I really can't say for sure because honestly, I think the only times I have ever seen her is when someone slaps her down from an Airshim deck. So I'm going to take their judgment that she's really good, she's really strong, but I honestly don't know anything about her. To me, she just kind of seems like a much better Mr. Fantastic. But that's just my opinion. I'm not too hot on her, but apparently a lot of people do actually think she's good and do enjoy playing her. Now let's take a look at Orana. Outside of the season pass card of Symbiote Spider-Man, she's going to be our first activate card. Her activate is she gives the next card you play +2 power and moves it to the right. I think that's awesome. I think she's going to be pretty good. I'm really curious to see how the activate function is actually going to be utilized, But for the fact of the matter is that she's got an on reveal that would be really good in any other situation. Like Iron Fist is a really good card in move decks, but now you not only move them, but you get to buff them and decide when you're going to do it. So you don't have to hold that Iron Fist in your hand until you have something that you want to move. You can literally just throw her out there, and then when the card comes up that you want to play, you can just play it on top of her, then activate her. Like I think it sounds fantastic. I can't wait to see what kind of things people come up to do with Arana. I think she's going to be a fantastic card. Once again, it's a move month. If you like move, I think she is absolutely a card that you need. And also on top of it, I think this is a really good week to chase after as well. Sage is a great card. Miss Marvel, I have heard, is a great card. And I think Arana is going to have a lot of really interesting play styles to go with her. So I think this is a great week. Unfortunately, also, this is going to be another one that I pass on. It kind of just seems to be not my month because there are a lot of really cool options here. It's just, I'm not a big fan of move. And finally, we're moving on to week 5. We're talking about September 24th through October 1st. This has got Scarlet Spider, Scar, and White Widow. Let's start with one of the top 3 2-cost cards in the game with White Widow. I think if you don't have her, you kind of do have to roll on her. This is kind of one of those same situations that I talked about last month with Jeff. This is one of those cards that you can literally just, unfortunately for everyone that plays against her, slot her into anything. She definitely is one of the top 3 2-cost cards out there. I don't know what everyone's opinion on where she goes against Kate Bishop. I think a lot of people have been ranking up Kate Bishop, White Widow, and then Jeff. That's mainly been from, you know, the top competitive players. So I think she is absolutely a must-have card. If you don't have her, she is definitely worth pulling on. Next card is Scar. I feel like Scar is kind of slept on. I don't know if it's because a lot of people don't have Scar or what it is, mainly because, I mean, he loses 2 cost for any card that you have out there that has over 10 power. And I think that is cards themselves that have 10 power, not a card that was buffed up to 10 power. And that may be a big thing, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure the card itself has to have 10 power. But I mean, I was curious and I looked it up. He's got a 54% win rate when he's played. So I think he's a little bit slept on. I think the other thing is a lot of people probably don't have Scar. I don't know when he necessarily was released, but a lot of people may not have in this collection. But for me personally, like even in a zoo deck, you throw out a cheap early Mockingbird, all of a sudden Scar only costs 4. So I mean, you throw Mockingbird out on turn 3, you throw Scar out on turn 4, and you got 21 power on the board. It's a win-win. I think he honestly just, he has the potential to be a pretty decent card just for any playstyle that you have. I think that, like I said, I think a lot of people may just not have Scar, but I could be wrong. I also think that he wouldn't be that bad of a card to pick up if you're already chasing White Widow. There are worse cards that could be in that slot. Scarlet Spider is the featured card of the week, and I'm gonna be honest, he's really got my cogs turning. So he's an activate card, which also, you know, really excites me, and you can add an exact clone of this card to another location. I think he has so many synergies that he could be really cool with, and I'm kind of just processing over, I mean, in the moment, and also since I saw his card and what could possibly be good with him. I mean, part of me, you know, is thinking, you know, anything with Wong and Ironheart or Wong and Namora could be very interesting. You throw him out in one lane, you Wong and then throw Namora on top of Wong. It buffs 2 cards in 2 lanes. Then you activate him and push him somewhere else. I think he has a lot of interesting synergies, and I kind of would like to play around with him a little bit. I don't know if I'm fully committed to pulling him yet. If anything, this would be the week that I'm very tempted to use keys on, primarily because outside of the first week of Silver Sable and Mockingbird, I don't think I'm using keys at all this month. So Scarlet Spider is very tempting. Like I said, I do really like Scar. I think Scar has a lot of potential. White Widow is not a bad inclusion into any collection. Honestly, she's probably a must-have in any collection. And then I think Scarlet Spider's got some very interesting play lines that I wouldn't mind playing around with. So I'll probably come to the September 24th and just kind of see where I'm sitting on keys, and then also look into October at what I possibly would want in that month and see if it kind of makes sense. But as of right now, I really am on the fence. I think that I may end up pulling on this week just because I think there's a lot of value here. I like the opportunity of what kind of Scarlet Spider could bring to certain decks that I want to play, especially since I'm actually thinking I'm probably going to be pulling for Namora in October. I think he could be very good in an already really strong deck that's kind of slept on. So that's very an interesting option. What's going on, everyone? Future Dare here again, and I want to just state that I think, on my opinion, Scar's value just went up. I'm not gonna say significantly, but his value did go up with the changes to Attuma, because in my mind, I really like the synergies that could happen between Scar, Attuma, Mockingbird, and Cull Obsidian now. You don't necessarily need all 4 of them, but even 3 of them in a deck I think could have some really, really cool play options. I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt because I did not pull Cull Obsidian. I think it was last month that he actually was in a Spotlight Cache. It was down to him. All I needed, he was guaranteed, and I decided not to pull on him, and I'm kind of regretting that now, just because I think that is some really, really cool options. But either way, not a whole lot has changed. This probably pushes me more towards I'll be pulling on this week, but I just kind of want to reiterate. I just kind of wanted to talk about that more because the OTA did kind of change that a little bit. But let's get back to it. Okay, and that sums up the month of September. I'm kind of excited for it. I think it's going to be a very cool month. Let's just kind of run through what my general consensus on the month, how I'm using my keys, and let's just kind of, lay it all out. Okay, week 1, we got August 27th through September 3rd. Absolute pass. I think this is going to be a regretful pass. I really do. I really hope that's not the case, but I think this is going to be a regretful pass. September 3rd through September 10th, we got week 2. I'm going all in. I do like the opportunity of Silver Sable. Of course, I'm going hard for Mockingbird, and US Agent will be a nice addition. Honestly, if I get Mockingbird on my first pull, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's an interesting thought to go through. I think I still will try and get Silver Sable just because I like what she kind of brings to the table, and I would be kind of tempted just to play around with her. Also, I'm very intrigued by bounce decks. So I think either way, I want Mockingbird and Silver Sable out of that week. So probably going to end up spending 4 keys. Week 3 on September 10th through the 17th, I am unfortunately going to be passing. I do want Alioth. I do. I think Alioth would be such a great card to have. But unfortunately, Madam Web and Silk are not exactly a style of play that I enjoy. So I'm going to be passing on September 10th through the 17th. September 17th through the 24th, we got Arana, Miss Marvel, and Sage. Once again, really want Sage. There's always one card in each week that just kind of I want really bad, but unfortunately, I'm not going to use the keys to try and chase after Sage. I'm also not going to roll the dice on that. Yeah, I don't want, Sage is not worth 4 keys to me, is what I'm trying to sputter out. Unfortunately. So I'm going to be passing on this week, which is unfortunate, just because there's just not enough keys to go around. September 24th through October 1st, this is a hard maybe. Actually leaning towards more probable maybe. I do like this week. I think it has a lot of potential. White Widow is a must-have card. I think Scar would be a great addition to my collection, especially the decks that I like to play. And I'm really tempted by the possibilities with Scarlet Spider, like I already mentioned, with decks like Wong and Ironheart and Namora. It just kind of seems like it'd be a really fun card to play around with. So that is the month of September. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments who you picking, who you not picking, who you saving your tokens for. Are you really excited for any certain cards that are coming up? Are you like me and you're not really hot on the move thing? Or are you actually really hot on the move thing and this is the best month that you've seen all year? Let me know down in the comments. So thanks again for tuning in with me. Hit that like button if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button to see more of my content. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later.